athletic director here at LSU. And a few hours ago, I was notified that our state funding of $800,000 will not be given to us this year. So, in turn, I have been critiquing our budget. And $800,000 is a lot from our budget since we are a smaller D1. And I have had to make a lot of hard decisions. These decisions include cutting teams, unfortunately firing administrators, firing a coach or two here, and I will go more in depth with this in the next few slides. When it came to shrinking the budget, I quickly found out that I am going to have to cut certain teams and fire certain administrators. When it came to cutting teams, I decided that the teams that were not bringing in much revenue or who were a major expense or just weren't performing good enough in their sport were going to be the first ones to go. On top of that, I also needed to make sure that Title IX would still be in balance, and it needed to be within the 5-point threshold that Title IX states for us. Another budget factor that went into this is the guarantee money games. The guarantee money gains are very important for us because it helps us in our surplus at the end of the budget, where we want to have close to $50,000 in a surplus. In the administration programs, I decided that the graduate assistants and interns had to go. They freed up around $140,000, and this was very much needed since the state took $800,000 from us, unfortunately. I also have a few recommendations for the future. I would say that we need to fundraise more money in the future. I would like for the fundraising goal to be around $1 million, if that is possible. We also need to try and play more TV games for sports besides football and basketball, men's basketball to be exact, because those TV games bring in more money for our athletic department. On top of that, we could play more guarantee games for other sports besides football and men's basketball, because just like the TV games, they bring in more money for our athletic department. Before we get into the changes, I would like to go over the preview of what the budget will be looking like. The expenses will be around $8,165,500, while the revenue will be $8,214,600. This leaves a profit for around $49,000. Now, on to the administrative changes. We currently have 2 positions that are vacant, and those are the 2 compliance coordinators. These 2 positions are worth $61,000 combined. So, for the time being, I will leave these vacant in the budget. We also will be eliminating all graduate assistants in the administrative positions. This total comes out to be $129,600. And as I said before, it's unfortunate that it came to this, but that is a great amount of money, and the people that the graduate assistants were working under will just have to pick up the slack. Unfortunately, I know it will be hard, but I know and I believe that they can get it done. We also will be eliminating the Spirit Squad coordinator, which was an intern position in our administration program. The total of all these come out to be $200,600 just for the administrative changes. When it came to capital changes, I decided that the projects that needed to be done soon and the critical projects were a priority. However, I decided that the basketball floor will not be done right now. The reason for this is because our basketball team is very solid and they do not need help in recruiting right now. However, our football team could use some help, and the locker room possibly could help lead to more wins because of recruiting. Now, on to the programs that are being exterminated. I decided that the men's swimming team should be exterminated, unfortunately. We were putting $156,000 in expenses into our swimming program. And unfortunately, they have not been strong historically, and they do not have any strong ties in the community. The extermination of the men's swimming team will free up 20 participation members and 3 scholarships within our program. On top of that, we will be exterminating the men's track and field team. The men's track and field team expenses came out to be $193,500. And they do not have any strong ties in our community. They are a pretty mediocre program, and they have 31 participants and 4 scholarships. And with their removal, it helps get us closer to the gender equity that we need with Title IX. The last sports program that we will be removing is the women's golf team. Our women's golf team was giving us $141,950 in expenses. It also had 11 participants and 4 scholarships. The women's golf team was pretty average, so they weren't doing anything spectacular, and they had no strong ties in the community. As I said previously, our football team will be adding a guarantee game, which means one of our home games will be taken away, giving us a revenue of $12,000 more in our football program. In order to reach our surplus goal, we decided to get rid of the third assistant coach for the women's basketball team, which will give us an extra $34,000. After all our changes, when it comes to gender equity, we are pretty much even. When it comes to participation, the men will have 49.55% of the participation rate, while the women will have 50.45% of the participation rate. When it comes to scholarships, the men will have 54.60% of the participation rate, while the women will have 45.40% of the participation rate.